I didn't know where to start this video, so to channel my inner game changers, the only way to begin is by beginning, and if you know what that's from, then you know. But this is not a video like any I've made before on the channel. It's not a Bionicle video at all, and in fact, I wish I could move the camera with me in the other room so you could see this being done. Used my phone. It did not save. I'll talk about that in a second, but this is a recipe, which I know is super weird. It's not something I typically do. But if you guys have been following along with the channel in general, then you know that I take care of my mom full-time. She had a stroke a couple of years ago, and with that comes some complications. Thankfully, we're both doing just fine, but there are certain things you can and can't eat. And of course, you know, typically after a stroke, you want to like watch your sodium and things like that in general. And just generally, it's healthier to do so anyway. That's what this is about. It's about the easiest recipe that I've come up with, and it's like really low sodium as well, which is always nice. It's for chicken. It's very basic. She struggles with certain types like breaded things, so this is literally just like an oven roasted chicken. You throw it in, you take it out, and you're done. That's it. So let me go ahead and describe it to you real quick. And I've got actually some stuff in front of me here, so I'll go ahead and show you that, but I don't have the chicken because we ate it. And again, I had pictures of it. Now I don't. With all that said, though, I literally just like take the chicken out. So I typically use frozen, boneless, skinless chicken thighs, and I will go ahead and thaw them the night before. So I'll just take out whatever portion that I need, put it in a little Ziploc bag, throw it in the fridge, let it sit overnight. I did that about 4 or 5 o'clock yesterday, pulled it out about 3 to 4 o'clock today, so 20-ish hours, 23 hours, somewhere there. But basically, it depends on the season, whatever. Don't worry about any of that crap. If it's still a little frozen, it just means it has to sit in the oven longer, and you'll find out. So, with all that being said, though, I just preheat the oven to 375, and literally while the oven is preheating, I take a piece of aluminum foil, I stick it on a little baking sheet. That's just to make cleanup easier, because I don't want to wash any dishes, you know, nothing fancy. And literally all I do is I take the chicken out of the fridge after it's thawed, and I put these 8 things on it, or rather in the bag. It's kind of a rub more than a recipe, if anything. So I'll go ahead and show you those first, and then I'll talk about why, I guess. So first things first, I add ground turmeric, and if you're not familiar with turmeric, I don't know any like health benefits. That's not the reason why I add it. Rather, I add it because it actually tastes pretty good, and it goes really well with chicken, in my opinion. A lot of people use it for the color because it adds this lovely yellow color to things, which it does here too. I'm not even worried about that. Honestly, turmeric is underrated, in my opinion. It has a very subtle kind of fruity, floral, lemony kind of flavor to it, and it's also a little bit earthy as well. It's like ginger in that way, and it is in fact related to ginger, but it's not spicy in the way that ginger is. It's also not as strong as ginger is, and of course you do get that color, so that's a plus, I guess, if you're going for it. It's just delicious in general, and it's fairly inexpensive, and it goes great on most things. So yeah, cool. I'll add that. Second up is ground cumin, which if you don't use this, it's criminally underrated. It's really not, though. It's actually a very popular spice, but I don't think a lot of people that live in the US use it outside of like chili. And that's kind of a crime. Because the thing is, like, this is basically the essence of chili, sort of. Like, if you ever smelled a fresh pot of chili after it's been cooked, this is basically what you're smelling. It does smell like that. If I open this up, it smells like I'm making chili, which is great, but it doesn't actually like taste like that a whole lot, at least not on its own, right? You got to impart some other things. Rather, it has a more earthy flavor, and it kind of brings out the savoriness of whatever you're adding it to, in this case, chicken. So it makes the chicken taste more chickeny, I guess. And again, it does have a little bit of a, I don't want to say floral, because I don't think that's the right term, but there's something to it I don't really know how to describe. It's just very good, and in general, that's what you're going to use as well. And I didn't mention amounts yet because I kind of eyeball it, but honestly, it's about 1/4 of a teaspoon of basically all of this for 2 chicken thighs, so 2 servings. But you could go heavier, you could go lighter, it's really up to you, and you're honestly not going to really ruin it, even if you do go a little bit heavier. Garlic powder is the next thing. That's pretty self-explanatory, and all the stuff that I'm showing you right here is from Walmart, which is probably pretty self-explanatory as well. Walmart is very convenient for me. It's right up the road. Aldi is very convenient for me. It's right up the road as well. And typically I prefer Aldi's stuff because it just usually tastes better depending on what you get. Spices especially, though. Lastly, from Walmart, paprika. Very simple, very self-explanatory. Also adds a little bit of color too, but again, not really the reason I'm adding it. It has a very herbal kind of flavor to it. It's not really spicy or anything like that. You can get some that's like smoked, sweet, a little bit spicy, whatever. That's cool. Any of that will work. Outside of that, though, another thing that we're going to add, another herb we're going to add, tarragon. And if you've never had this, that is also a crime because it's actually pretty good. You might be turned off by it when you smell it, though, because it actually smells kind of like licorice, which I know sounds really weird, but that's actually not as uncommon as you would think. There are a lot of plants that have a licoricey kind of vibe to them because that's kind of where licorice comes from. And Tarragon is no exception to that. It'll smell like licorice. It'll smell that anisey kind of flavor or scent to it. It doesn't really taste like that, at least not on its own. It adds that flavor for sure. A very similar flavor to fennel if you want. But again, it has more of an herbal flavor, and I really like it with this one as well. Then Herbs de Provence or Provence or whatever, however you pronounce that. I don't really care. All I know is it's good. It is a spice blend though. So there's other stuff in here as well, you know, of just a bunch of different herbs. And honestly, you could change this out for other spice blends. You could mix your own too. You could do whatever, Italian seasoning or basil and oregano, whatever you want to add, right? Pretty good. Last two things here. One of these has sodium. That's basically your salt for the entire thing. This is just black pepper. That's pretty self-explanatory. This is a grinder, which seems pretentious. It's not. This is like $1.50 at Aldi's, and it's great, and it's glass, and it lasts forever. But if it does break, you're out $1.50, whatever. It's pretty good, though. And I really prefer it ground. I know it sounds crazy, but it just tastes more complex than like dried black pepper out of the box or out of the box. Like saying it like that just makes it sound like, oh yeah, maybe that is an issue. The thing with spices is they really like not being exposed to air until they have to be. And so I often recommend, like, especially like herbs, like dried leaves, to like shake it a couple times first. That gets those oils kind of moving around in there and bruises the leaves and really just helps to extract it too. And black pepper is no different. When you grind it, that act of grinding kind of brings those oils back to life. I don't know how to describe it any better than that. And I know that's not scientifically how any of that works, but you kind of know what I'm saying, right? It's like when you bruise an apple, how an apple changes colors, it's a physical response to it. Well, it's kind of the same thing with like spices too. When you like bash it against the glass that's here, the oils in it kind of move around and go to different parts. It's a silly thing, but it does make sense, and it's really good. You're especially going to notice it with black pepper, because if you use it dry, it just kind of tastes ashy. It's not great. The last thing here, this is where your salt is coming from, and it is steak seasoning, specifically from Aldi's. I highly recommend this one. It's definitely my favorite, and it just tastes a lot better than most other brands, at least in my opinion. And this is all of your salt right here. And for two people, you're using like a 1/4 teaspoon, maybe a 1/2 teaspoon. So between 7 and 14% of your daily value of sodium. And if you're just one person eating one serving, well, you split that in half. 3 to 7% of your daily value of sodium for a chicken thigh is not bad by any means. And the thing about this recipe is it's all about the chicken. The whole purpose of all of this here, other than like maybe the garlic powder, is that like none of this is really strongly flavored. It just kind of enhances the flavor of the chicken that's already there while adding subtle notes to it. You know, the tarragon adds a little bit of a savoriness that's kind of missing, if that makes sense. The turmeric adds a lemony kind of floral note to it, and who doesn't love like lemon pepper chicken, you know? So it's kind of hinting at that stuff. It's just all good stuff in general, and I really recommend it. And it's, like I said, the dead simplest thing ever, because $3.75, 30 to 40 minutes in the oven, but realistically, just take it out around 30 minutes, measure the temperature at the thickest part of the chicken. If it's 165, it's good. If it's not 165, throw it back in 3, 4, 5 more minutes, depending on how close you are, and just go with it. Just make sure you're using thawed chicken and not frozen straight in the oven. Otherwise, you're going to take way longer. And it comes out like juicy and great too. So like I said, super silly video. I know, not something I normally do, but I figured if I was going to find something that was really delicious, I wanted to share it with you. And even if you went like half the amount of all this stuff, you're still going to have good chicken out of it. You'll just have less of the other stuff. And if you go the opposite direction, add too much, you're just going to get more herbal flavors in there, but none of it's going to overpower the chicken, you know? Not unless you like dump a whole thing of garlic powder on it, then you might have a problem. So that's pretty much it. Hopefully one of you guys out there gets to try it. Don't just make sure to prep your meat and make sure it's cooked up to temperature. You all know what you're doing. With all that being said, though, that's it for this video. If you guys did enjoy the video and the silliness of this channel as of today, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, because it does help out the channel, and tell you guys to have more of this stuff. Tells the algorithm to send it to more people. I don't know. And with all of that said, if you want to join the conversation, you can check out the comments or check out the Discord, Instagram, and Patreon if you want to support the channel and get some perks. And I will see you all in the next one. Hopefully next recipe video, if I ever make one, will have a picture or an actual product in front of you. Sorry about that. Take care.